I would like to welcome everyone to the Roxborough Roundtables. My name is Jessica Putman, and I am the student coordinator for the tables. Today, our topic is Kim Davis, First Amendment Martyr or Civil Rights Antagonist, and our host today will be John Devote.
Okay, I am John Devote. I am a history professor here, and most of the people here are members of my Debating U.S. Issues class. So I thought this was a good topic for the Debating U.S. Issues. So Kim Davis, the First Amendment of the Constitution says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble, to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The Supreme Court decided that gay marriage should be legalized, civil gay marriage, excuse me. Kim Davis, who is a county clerk in Kentucky, has said that because of her religious beliefs, she should not be allowed, should not have to sign marriage certificates for gay couples, and she has gone to jail because of that. So the main question, obviously, is she correct? Is this violating your freedom of religion, or is this a violation of the Establishment Clause?
So we'll start with our first student, Ms. Steek. She's claiming, this is Evan Lane, she's claiming that when she signs off on the marriage certificate, that violates her freedom of religion because she does not believe in gay marriage. And she's a employee of the state working as the clerk. So should she be able to go around, say, I don't want to follow this law, that because it violates my personal beliefs as a Christian?
I don't think she should be able to go around. I don't think she should be able to go around and do that because although it violates her beliefs for her religion, it also violates other people's rights as well.
But why should their rights be more important than her individual rights?
Because I look at that as her discriminating because a lot of people look at gay couples and stuff like that as a sin, but I'm pretty sure she signed off on marriage certificates for other people who have sinned as well, but she just don't want to sign off on theirs because she look at their sin differently.
Does anyone else have a point of view? Pat?
Hi, I'm Pat Ruvatuso. I don't know. I believe it all just kind of boils down to the fact that she does work for the state, and it does violate her religion, but it all boils down to church versus state. She can't really have an opinion on this. I don't think she should have the right to not sign off on the marriage licenses.
I'm Tim, and I agree with you to an extent, but I think she should have the right to, just not in the position that she's holding. She has the right to believe what she wants and not do what she wants. She's not forced to do anything, but if she's going to continue to hold that job, I think she should have to, but she's not forced to do anything.
I'm Ron. I believe it does there's laws that protect your religion while through work, such as you get holidays off or something like that, which she's using a good example, I guess you could say, that it's preventing her from fully following her religion because this is her job. She shouldn't this is technically saying she's supporting, I guess, if she's permitting the gay rights marriage.
So you're saying that she does not have to sign off and she could prevent her office, which she's in charge of, and her name is on every certificate.
That what I've heard, yes. Because
she does not believe in it, she has a right not to issue those marriage certificates.
Yes, because it violates I think it's the Establishment Clause, which protects your religion through work.
That'd be the First Amendment, not the Establishment.
Right.
There's so many amendments.
My name is Rita, and I think that if basically what she's being asked to do is going against what she believes, then that technically means that her job is going against her religion and she should give it up. and someone else should be working in her place. So, yeah.
Well, there's an issue that goes. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Austin, and I'm with Tim. Kinda, it's like one thing that she's working for the government as opposed to if she was just doing her own thing. I'm kind of confused why she's arrested though. Like, why is she in jail?
She got arrested because the judge ordered her to fill out the marriage license, and she still refused to do it. So wasn't she held like a contempt of court because she didn't follow?
See, the gay couple that came in to get a marriage certificate, she said, "I will not give it." Go ahead. You want?
There were
say
4
that?
couples. My name is Rose, and there were actually 4 couples on the complaint. 2 were gay, and 2 were heterosexual couples. She refused licenses to all because she did not want to appear that she was discriminating against anyone. She said, "I'm not doing any licenses in this county." And the interesting part in the news is all we've heard about is this one gay couple, not the other, and not the 2 heterosexual couples throughout this whole mess, which I find very interesting because she denied them all, which in essence is saying, "I'm not doing my job."
So at that point, these couples sue, and it goes in front of a judge. And the judge says, you have to follow the law and issue these certificates. That's your job. That's the law of the county. She said no. So the judge asks you to do something, and you don't. It's called contempt. And she was found in contempt, and she was placed into jail. Does that help you out?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Solomon. I feel that she's using like Christianity. Her religion isn't. I think she's using it as an excuse because like I've heard of a saying from like the Bible that there's a saying called like give unto Caesar what's Caesar's and give unto God what's God. In this case, the state is Caesar. If the state says you should give licenses to gay couples so they could get married, then give it to them. You don't have the right to say, because it's a saying in the Bible. It's if you're trying to follow your religion, or she should be able to know what. Basically, she should be able to. She must have known that, and it's basically it's.
There's an interesting analogy, Zevin, given that your right to practice your own religion ends at the tip of your nose. What that means is that you can do what you want to do in your life, but you can't dictate to others what they can do. And that's exactly what you're saying, the old expression, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. But there's an interesting issue. You guys are really kind of saying, well, it's her job. She took the job. She's got to do it. But I want to throw out something different. And this is a big controversy. What happens if you're a baker? Okay, you don't work for the government, private, and a gay couple comes in and says, we want a wedding cake, and this is a real story. We want a rainbow on it, which is a symbol of the gay community, LGBT community. And the baker says, hey, I'm Christian. I'm against all that stuff. The Bible says whatever it says, and that's an argument for another time. But I'm not going to bake that cake. In that state, there's a law that says you can't discriminate against anyone for race, background, sexual orientation. And those people are fined for violating that law. Should they have a right to say, hey, it's my bakery, I can bake what I want, and if I don't want to bake for gay couples, I shouldn't bake? How do you address that? Let's go to Pat.
I don't know. I feel like it's their business. They should be able to do what they want, but if the law says otherwise, then they should have to face the consequences. But I don't know. It kind of like get really, you get a little messy, I guess, if you keep going with that.
How?
I have no idea how it could get messy, but it's like I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that right now.
Well, this is John. The argument that Kim Davis would make, and as you said, Rose said earlier, she is not discriminating. She's basically just stopped giving marriage license to anybody. This is not the only part of her job. She's basically the clerk of the county, and she is not committing a hardship because they can simply go to the next county and get a marriage license in the next county. She was elected, and I doubt very much that she kept her religion a secret when she was running for that office. So she would argue that she is fulfilling the will of the people. She is elected probably as a Christian, and that most of the people believe that she should be a Christian. The cake analogy, the thing is, he's not baking a cake for this one couple. To do something like she's doing, he would have to stop baking cakes altogether, because otherwise he would be discriminating. She's not discriminating. She's just not giving out marriage licenses to anybody.
Did she stop giving out licenses to everybody once the judge ordered her to?
Yeah, she refused, and that's why she went to jail. Now she's out of jail, and she's took her name off the certificates and is allowing her her assistants to issue marriage license. She wasn't even allowing her assistants to. The whole office could not before. Now her assistants are doing it. But there's a question out there still, because is it legal or not for her to take her name off? She is the county clerk, and you have to have your name on it. So this issue is still floating around, by the way, and she may end up back in jail for playing this game that she's playing.
I think it also says something like this is being issued by court order or something like that, which is also part of the question, I believe.
But let's go back to the cake analogy, because Patrick knows there's something that he doesn't like that's going to happen. So
I had to organize my thoughts a little bit. But so basically, if you're not going to make this cake for this gay couple, right? It could get it could get progressively worse if you continue to follow by this rule, I guess, or just given thing, as in oh, I'm gonna not make this cake. Oh, I'm just gonna stop letting gays into my store at all, or I'm not gonna let this race or this religion into my store at all, and then it just turns into just a horrible thing. It's basically segregation. I mean, at that point.
I mean, personally, I think it just looks bad on her. My name, Rita. Okay. It just looks bad on her because when she discriminates one person, there are other people who support gay marriage and gay people in general, and they're not going to go to their store either. So she would lose profit.
But that's her own. But that's her choice. She's saying, "I'm willing to go out there and go, my store only straight people."
Yeah, so it's her loss. She's losing profit just by discriminating these type of people.
But she can make that choice, the baker. But can the law step in and say, "No, you have to bake this cake"?
I mean, didn't you say it was a private?
Yeah, it's a private. Yeah, it's a bakery. It's not owned by the government. Go ahead. You want to? So how do you handle what Pat says? Because Pat's saying other people are. It's going to be a slippery slope. Yeah.
I'm Ron. Back to what the cake analogy. I mean, people discriminate against people who don't speak their said language. That's for another example. I don't really view that as their discrimination. They can do what they want as their store.
So this is actually a real story. This was one of the cheesesteak places. Yeah, I forgot Gino's, whatever it may be.
It was Gino's.
Was it Gino's? They'll say it. Gino's, who put in the store English-speaking people only. They were not going to accept the business from people who didn't speak English. That is discrimination, obviously, against people of other races and so forth. Should he be allowed to do that? Because it's no different than saying, I won't bake cakes for gays. I will not serve cheesesteaks to Latinos. It's his business. Should he have the right to do that?
But is that a freedom of religion issue?
Yeah, that's a whole different. That's a.
See, if some other county clerk decides that Jews and Christians shouldn't get married, and they say it's against my religion for Jews and Christians to get married because the Jews, of course, killed Jesus Christ. Can they say, because of my religion, I will not allow a Jew and a Christian to get married, heterosexual couple?
Can they do that? You go ahead.
Well, I think my name's Austin, and I think to piggyback off of what Pat said a little bit, with the slippery slope, it's where does it end? If you segregate against this, then people are going to segregate against that, and I don't know. I think it's better off just sticking to the law, and maybe Kim Davis is at fault here, I would say, for not following.
Making Kim Davis's argument, she'll say that I believe that if gays marry, that it's against the Bible, and that's the highest sin, and if I am part of it, that I will burn in hell. And she probably believes that I'll burn in hell later for being part of this. You're forcing her, making her argument, You're forcing her to do something that's absolutely horrible for her, where she believes her soul will be destroyed later on. Should you be able to force her?
Hi, my name is Nick. I feel like you can't force her to do anything. She can quit at any time she wants to quit, and that's her choice. She's never going to be forced to do anything at work. And going back to the bakery and everything, that's their business. And although it's morally unacceptable, they can do what they want, and they can hurt their own business if they want by not letting gays buy a cake or by not letting Latinas buy a sandwich. But with Kim Davis, that's her job, and she doesn't own that. Like, the government owns it, so she has to follow what the job rules say, not what her own rules.
But I want to get back to your cake analogy. I'm not going to let you off the hook, and that was very well said, but I'm not going to let you off the hook so easily. If there's a law, and there are laws in most states that say you can't discriminate in your business based upon various race, color, background, you can't do that. And if you do, you will be fined or even prisons, whatever the law says. How about that situation? Is that law fair? No one said this would be easy, by the way.
I don't know.
My name is Rita, and I think if you're going to break the law, you are obviously ready to take the consequences. If you know it's illegal and you're going against it anyways, then you will be ready to face the consequences. If they come in to your shop and tell you that what you're doing is wrong, then you should not have anything to say against what they're saying. You shouldn't have to be like, oh, no, you're wrong. I can do what I want, but they'll take you anyway.
My name is Martina, and I feel that if you feel that strongly about your religion, then you would follow it to the full extent, which means you wouldn't be judging and that you wouldn't be discriminating. You would be doing your job, and it's not your job to judge who you can give marriage licenses out to or who you can give a cake to. And if the law says so, then your religion shouldn't go past the law, because then anyone can say, like, oh, I don't believe, my religion believes in murder, so I can murder.
Yeah, this is Tim, and I agree with you with the judging thing, but the hard thing is that when we talk about religion, you're talking about such a wide variety of religion that you say someone's religious and people automatically get this like one idea and this one discrimination or one, set of beliefs. When I have no idea what Kim Davis believes or what these store owners who are making the cake believe. But I agree that it's right not to judge, and that someone who is a Christian, or without getting into that belief and that faith, they wouldn't judge someone, and they would love that person and just see the, sins in everyone or whatever. But it's hard because when you say religion, you're automatically talking about so many beliefs, and you can't really pinpoint it.
This is John. I have a couple of points. First of all, the cake analogy with homosexuality, there is no federal law, I believe, for civil rights for gays, and many states, including Pennsylvania, do not have a law. So you're not. If you discriminate against gay people, you're not actually breaking the law.
In some states.
In some states. I'm not sure the exact number. You would know better than me. But I do know there's no federal law about this. So it's not like the Civil Rights Act of '64 where you can't discriminate. With gay people, you are allowed to. The whole cake analogy, the problem with it is not a government function. When Kim Davis says that this is my religion, this is what you are doing, this is what I'm going to do because of my religion, she is trying to establish her version of Christianity as that county's religion. She's saying, everybody in this county is going to follow my version of Christianity. And the Supreme Court, the First Amendment of the Constitution says you should not have a law respecting establishment of religion, which is exactly what she's trying to do. She could easily have solved the problem by letting her clerks do the marriage certificates instead of her, and instead of saying, her name on there, the county clerk's office of this county, instead of putting her name on here, and her name never shows up anywhere, and she's still following the law, she's still following her freedom of religion, but she's not establishing her own version of Christianity as the state religion.
But I'll challenge that from a point of view. We're going around and saying, well, that sounds pretty easy, but I'll tell you what the law does allow, and I want to see how you handle that. First of all, if you remember, you know who Muhammad Ali is. His religion that he was following at the time did not allow him to kill. So when he was drafted to go to Vietnam, he stood up as a conscientious objector. And there is laws that say that all of you would have to be drafted and you have to follow the law. But if you can prove that you have an actual religious objection to following the law, you don't have to go. Now, if I'm Kim Davis's attorney, I would say she's like Muhammad Ali. She's a conscientious objector to the law. So she does not have to follow it. How would you handle that? Yeah. Your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm next. Well, you said if they're a conscientious objector and because of the religion, they don't have to go.
Right.
So the same thing with Kim Davis. She doesn't have to go. She's not, she doesn't.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
I can see the wheels turning, yeah.
It's not that she can stop giving out the marriage licenses, it's that she can stop going. It's I guess that's like a different.
But she doesn't have to sign them. I think that's what you're saying, the analogy says that someone else can in her office.
Right, and she doesn't have to go to work. But she does have to sign them at work because she decided to go to work.
So you're saying, like Muhammad Ali, she don't have to be the clerk. She could not be a soldier, not be the clerk.
If Muhammad Ali went to Vietnam, he would have to kill somebody or fire a weapon at somebody. But if he proved that he didn't have to go, then he wouldn't have to go at all.
That's nice.
This is Tim. I mean, this might sound dumb, but they're also not asking Kim Davis to marry a woman. Like, it's different because she's not being asked to do the act that she believes is wrong. She's just asked to be involved, and I think that's where people get confused because, she feels like she's involved and she's allowing it when her denying it is just making it a little bit harder for them to get married. And I have a question for someone who would know. Did she stop issuing the marriage license when it became legal? Or
Rose?
I believe she did, although it's hard to say because it only hit the news when the gay couple was initially denied their license. But she denied them to all, so there were actually 4 couples on the legal complaint.
An interesting argument, Zevin, was put out there. I want to know, because that was a great response to the last one. Huckabee, who's running for president on the Republican Party, said that I don't care what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said, so you'll understand, that it's a violation of equal protection to deny same-sex marriage. What that means is this. There's a law allowing marriage across the country. People who are same-sex said, we're not allowed to get married. That law then is not applying to us as it applies to heterosexuals. So the law is not being applied equally. Equal protection law doesn't mean we're all equal. It just means the law is applied to us equally. So there's a law allowing marriage. You're not allowing us to get married. You're discriminating against us. It's that clear. The court said, yeah, that's right. That is discrimination. So the law now allows everyone who wants to get married legally. You're allowed to marry another human being, then you should be allowed to marry one other human being. That's the law. So when that law was put down, Huckabee says that's in violation of a higher law, that the Supreme Court should not be followed, even though our Constitution makes that the highest court in our country. The Supreme Court, in violation of moral law, we should ignore what the Supreme Court has to say. So I want to know what your response is to what he has to say, because that's a leading candidate who's running for president.
I just want to clarify something. Didn't the Supreme Court say that civil marriage was equal protection. They said that priests and ministers and rabbis did not have to actually marry these people.
That's a very good point.
This is only civil marriage, not religious version of marriage.
Right. If you're a priest who doesn't want to marry someone, then you don't have to. They can go to a judge, or they can go to a minister, or go to a rabbi, or go to my son, who actually marries people for $25. You could actually go on the internet and become a Universal Life Church. You can marry people. It's that easy. It's not very hard to do that. Yeah. So it does make that point. You can't be forced to marry someone if you don't want to, but your judge has to do it. So I'm just interested in what you think of Huckabee's version of how law should be applied in this country. Is the Supreme Court under another law, God's law?
No, they're not under anybody else's law besides their own. Once something goes up to the Supreme Court, that's like the final stamp on what's constitutional, what's unconstitutional. After that, there is no other judgment or say upon the instance unless it goes back to the Supreme Court. That's the bottom line. There is no higher authority.
Sorry. I'm Nick. When you say under God's law, you mean like God?
Well, he's referring to the Christian God.
Okay.
As there's only one God. That's the way he's looking at it, his God.
So our government has a separation between church and government, and when you start bringing that together, that in a way makes no sense, because we don't run a government based off of religion. And it's like, when everyone says religion, I feel like everyone means Christianity, but there's so many other religions. And when oh man, I just lost my thought.
You were going good. You saw a separation of church and state, and when he said there's a higher court than the Supreme Court.
When Huckabee, sorry.
That's okay.
When he's saying that there's a higher power above the Supreme Court, yes, if you believe in that religion, yes, there can be, but within government, no, there's not, because there's no religion in government.
Yeah, this is Tim. I think it's hard though, because when the nation was founded, it was founded under the belief in God, and it was considered a Christian nation. There's in like the founding of our nation, there was like quotes from the Bible in there. So somewhere along the way, it's hard for people to trace back and say this is where it stopped. So people just keep it up and say like God still has a major part in today's government.
This is Mystique, and I just feel that he was wrong to say that, because he can't just say Christian, like the United States is just a Christian country, because there are other religions in this country, and everybody have a right to have whatever religion they choose. And if you're a Christian, you don't really know what everybody else's beliefs are and stuff like that. So other religions might not look at it how Christians do. So I just feel like it was wrong for him to just put that on all of the citizens of the United States.
I'd be interested what John has to say in response. Tim, is it? It's Tim's statement, the U.S. is a Christian nation.
It was theoretically founded as a Christian nation. When they first founded it, they didn't even like Catholics because they weren't considered Christians. They were papists. They believed the Pope was in charge, not that God was in charge. But still, they passed a law saying you cannot establish a religion. And when somebody like Mike Huckabee says we have a higher power, the Muslims have a word for that. It's called Sharia law, which many of these people will say, we have to believe in the Christian laws. In the next breath say we cannot have Sharia law. And I'm thinking, but you are just said that you want to have your version of Sharia law, not the Muslim version. You want to have the Christian version. This is not designed, the system is not designed to be a religious state. Otherwise, we would be somebody like Iran. And everybody always screams that we can't have a theocracy like Iran. And then they go and say, well, let's follow Christian law instead. It seems contradictory to me.
and just add my 2 cents evidence to it, I would disagree that we're founded as a Christian nation. The founders of this country, if anything, were deists who were not Christians, that actually were believe in spirituality apart from religion. Thomas Jefferson, one of our founders, he actually took out all of the religious references in the Bible. He actually crossed them out. If you look at Jefferson's Bible, and he kept the philosophy, which he believed in, but took out the religion. John Adams was not a strong believer in Christianity, although he was a spiritualist, even up to Abraham Lincoln. When Washington wrote letters concerning the formation of our government, he made it very clear that there's a wall between separation of church and state. So our founding fathers, the common thing out there, Tim, is they were Christians. That's actually not true. And also, if that's it's what you call a discourse, something that's put out there by people who want you to believe things. But when you research it, you find out there's a wide variety of beliefs, and many of them were not beliefs at all. So we were not founded as a Christian nation. You want to go even further, our founding fathers were very scared of religion appearing in government because of what happened in England, where we came from. If you look at history, the war between the Christians, the Protestants, and the Catholics led to thousands of deaths and complete chaos. And that was looked at when religion gets into government, it becomes very, very brutal and deadly. And we were separating from that system, wanting to take religion out. That's what makes our country so bizarre and different. We wanted to be away from all that stuff. So the history is a little more murky than it's painted. Yeah.
My name is Rita, and even if our founding fathers were Christian, or America is like coming from a Christian nation, there's like America is known for a diversity of cultures and religions. There's so many religions in our country. People come here to get a new life, or make money and help their family. But if in God we trust is printed on coins, and if it was a Christian nation, Christians believe in the Son of God. They don't know who God is. It's just like a higher being. So if they don't know who this God and we trust is printed on our coins, then we're saying we don't know who God is. God can be anyone. So that God on the coin can be any religion's God. That's what my opinion is.
We're kind of getting a little bit off topic. I don't want to get back to it, but the one thing about in God we trust and one nation under God, I know people who are Jewish, I know people who are Muslim, when they talk about in God we trust or one nation under God, they always understood it as the Christian God. It was not in Allah we trust, it was not in Yahweh we trust, it was always in the Christian God. That's the way they looked at it for that. But I want to get back to the part you made. You mentioned Muhammad Ali, how he was called himself a conscientious objector and went to jail for it. You also have other examples that they've used, such as Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. These politicians and even Kim Davis has argued that they're similar. She's similar to them in their protest. Is she?
This is Jessica. She's nowhere near either one of those people at all. She's like the farthest end of the spectrum from those people.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. I mean, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr., they weren't public officials who were told to do a job. They just stood up for what they believed was wrong and was against, like, their human rights, not religious rights. But what Kim Davis is doing is basically saying, I'm in government office, I hold this position, and I refuse to give you a marriage license because it goes against my rights. She's pretty much just taking her religious views and putting it into government, which isn't supposed to be. So therefore, she's nowhere near those people because they didn't even, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, didn't do it for religious belief. They did it for the rights of colored people. She's doing it because she just believes her religion is more important than somebody's actual human rights.
Okay.
This is Tim. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just bringing up the point that some people would argue that religious rights are human rights, and that just like that people have as much. I mean, I think we already talked about this today, but people have as much right to practice their religion. And I think people are taking Kim Davis too seriously. Like, like the fact that they're making such a huge deal of this, that they could easily she could just step down and she could do her own thing And no one would hate her for that. People would, yeah.
But there's a bigger issue, and what they call is the war against Christianity, which I find funny because being Jewish and being subject to a huge majority of people being Christian and then them saying that war is against them is pretty funny to me, having been subjected to Christmas warring against me for all these years. But they say the Supreme Court is a symptom, the Supreme Court case is a symptom of the American society out to destroy Christian beliefs. And I'd just be interested, Rose, do you want to comment on?
Until the Supreme Court makes a decision that's in favor for them, right? Then it's like, oh, we love the Supreme Court.
Right.
We're all for the Supreme Court. As soon as something goes against them and against their larger beliefs, now there's an uproar.
Is there a war against Christianity? Does that make any sense? Have you heard of that before?
I mean, I've heard of it before, but no, I don't believe there's a war in Christianity. Because to me, when the people who said it to me in like conversations, it's normally because what they believe in, like everything this kind, like where their country's going, from their words, where the country is going, it's going against their religious beliefs. But we're not a Christian country, so therefore why should we be going towards your religious beliefs when we have so many religions? We have people who don't even practice religion in this country. Why should we pick one religion and just go follow everything that they want? That's not how our country works. It's not how it's supposed to work.
This is John. Actually, the class before this, I showed a part of a video for a TED Talk, and the person was talking about women's rights. But he pointed out that people with privilege never see that they have privilege. So Christians never see the fact that Jews have been oppressed, that Muslims are still being oppressed, that atheists will never be a president. They don't see that they have the privilege, and when somebody tries to be equal to them, they see it as an attack on them. So privilege does not see privilege.
We have a couple more minutes, so you want to sum up?
I want to thank everybody for coming, first of all. I want to thank everybody. Some people argued the Kim Davis side, which I was very happy about. I was a little nervous about that because I don't hope most people think. The one thing I have to point out that somebody mentioned that they make too big a deal about her. I agree. She should have been a footnote in the New York Times, page 73 or something like that. But unfortunately, you have presidential candidates like Mike Huckabee backing her. You have other presidential candidates that maybe not have stood with her, are arguing that she is correct. And we've had this in the past where people who really should not be that important have become important because of the people who have basically boosted her up to a level she should not be. I mean, the judge basically said it. She can not define her job. That's not her job. She is there just to sign the papers. So again, I want to thank everybody.
Thank you.